Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
So in this class, what we are going to do is probably there's going to be a last session before your holidays. So in today's class, we are going to see when the user tries to join a WhatsApp group or any kind of Zoom meeting or Google Meet, what happens at that time and how does it provide the acknowledgement that a particular user had joined a group. So for that, what we are going to do is, so just tell me what do we use in order to create a WebSocket API? Which dependency do we need? We have done in the previous classes as well. We have installed certain dependencies. Which dependency do we need in order to work with the WebSockets?
Socket
Someone
data.
tell me. Okay, we need the socket.io. So here, I will go to my socket.js, which I have created inside the backend file. And here what I will do is, I will import the express. Along with that, I will also import the socket.io in order to create my API. So what kind of API is it going to be? So when the user will try to join a meeting or a group chat, etc., or basically, you can also speak it as a namespace. So in general, whenever a user tries to join a shared group chat or any room which is shared by multiple users, that is known as namespace. Okay, so here I will write const text is equal to require express. And after that, I will import the socket.io. Socket is equal to require socket.io. This is done till this part. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to create a function. And the name of that function is going to be, let's say, register socket handlers. And here what I will do, I will pass an instance of my socket.io. And that instance is going to be IO. Okay, so here, as a parameter I'm passing it. So after declaring the function, inside this, what I will do, so we have done in the previous class as well. We have studied a function which is executed whenever a user tries to connect with that particular socket. And the name of that function is, the built-in function that we call is on function. So how to access it? With the help of instance of the socket.io. So how do we write it? First, we will write the instance of the socket.io that we have passed in the parameter io dot the on function. This function is executed whenever a user tries to connect with a socket. So here, we are going to define an built-in method, that is connection. So whenever the user will try to connect, then the function that I'm going to write, the arrow function that I will write over here, taking socket as the parameter, will get executed. And inside this function, whenever the user will connect himself with the socket, then we will get printed in our console that a user connected. And then it is going to provide the ID of the socket. See, each and every group chat, each and every Google Meet or any kind of video call where multiple users can connect together in a WebSocket contains a particular socket ID. The group chat has its own ID and the user has its own ID. So here it will display us the ID of the group in which the user has joined. Along with that, it will provide a user has connected as the message. Now we will take the user ID. So here, in order to create a user ID, what do? We have to just provide, we will take a variable that is const user ID is equal to, what we are going to check, whenever a user tries to connect himself with a socket. So what happens in the very first place? At first, the handshake is established, where the metadata is exchanged with the socket, with the server and the user. And after that, what happens? The user ID, the texts, the metadata, the paragraphs, the timestamps, etc., are changed among the changed between the server and the client. So what we are going to check whether the handshake has been done. Socket.handshake. Here we will provide a question mark to check. Dot. And if the handshake has been done, then we are going to take the query from the handshake. And after that, from the query, we are going to take the user ID. And after that, we are going to put a condition. If the user ID is existing inside the metadata, then what will happen? Then we are providing the user the access to join the group chat. So here, with the help of dot join method, we are providing what? We are accessing the user to join the group chat. Here, what we will provide? We will provide the user along with his user ID. And after that, we will take socket dot data dot user ID is equal to user ID. And then finally in the console, we will get a message. And that message is going to be socket ID this room is joined by user, and here it will provide us the user side, which user has joined this particular room. And now, how to send a particular notification in a group chat? So here for that, we are again going to use the on function. Here what I will write socket.on. Inside this, we are going to mention an event, that is send notification. And after that, what we are going to do? We are going to define an arrow function inside which we will take certain parameters. First parameter is going to be the payload. And this payload, as of now, I am providing as an empty object. And after the payload, I will provide the acknowledgement as the next parameter to this arrow function. So here I will create a variable const notification. So this notification is going to be an object, and this will take the ID. And how will the ID get generated? In order to generate the ID of particular notification, we are going to use a user-defined method, which I will be defining later on. So let's just provide genID as the user-defined method, which we will be defining after writing this function. Okay, so genID is again a function. After that, what we are going to do? We are going to provide the text. And where will we get the text from? We will be receiving the text from the payload itself. See that we have declared over here that payload is an empty object. So this payload will contain the text that we want over here. So for that, we'll write payload dot text. And if the text does not exist, then it will provide us with an empty string. So that is why we are using this double question mark. Okay. So according to this double question mark, if the previous value exists, then the latter value will not execute. And if the previous value is not existing, then the latter value will get executed and will be returned to us as a result. And here it will provide us the metadata. And where will it get the metadata from? From the payload itself. Payload.meta. And if it does not exist, then it is going to provide us the null value. And then here it will also provide in the notification that from whom have we got that notification. That is why we will be writing from. And here we will provide socket dot data dot user ID that we have mentioned. And if this is not mentioned, then again it is going to provide us the null. And after that, finally, it will provide us the timestamp. For that, we will be writing date dot now method. So these are the things that a notification is going to carry, and whenever the user will connect, this notification will be provided to the user in the console. And here we are going to place certain conditions. And what are those? We will see. You people might have seen in some WhatsApp chats that if we send someone some text personally in his personal chat, so that message goes to that person with having that user ID. Okay. But what if we want to send a particular message in a group chat? That particular message, even though we are sending it in a single group, is received by multiple user IDs. Right? So for that purpose, here we are going to place certain conditions. So from the payload, we will take 2 user ID. And if in the payload it is provided that the notification should be sent to a particular user's ID, then with the help of io.to method, we are going to print user, and then we'll provide payload dot user ID, and with the help of dot emit method, what we are going to do, we'll write emit, and then here we are going to mention one event again, that is receive notification, because from the user side he is receiving the notification, and then it will provide the notification object that we have declared above, this entire object, all right, in his own user ID. Or else here what will be the condition? If the user wants to send the message in the room itself, so for that we will provide payload dot room. Inside this, we will provide this entire thing. Copy it and paste it over here. And here, instead of writing user and etc., we'll just write payload dot room, and then the receive notification followed by the notification object. And finally, if nothing is provided, then it will simply execute io.emit, and here the same thing, receive notification and the notification object. Copy, and here paste. And now one more function that again we are going to declare. So after establishing the connection, we get something like the blue tick, so that we know that the user has already read that message that we have sent to the user. So what is that exactly that we need? That is exactly an acknowledgement to us. So whenever we share a message, we get an acknowledgement back. What about the acknowledgement? The acknowledgement tells that the user has successfully received our notification. So here we are going to check the type of acknowledgement. So with the help of type of operator, I will check acknowledgement is equal to whether the acknowledgement is a function. Okay. So if the acknowledgement is a function, then in the acknowledgement, what we are going to send? We will send okay, will having the true value, and then the notification itself. One more thing. So this is about when we want to send the notification. Now what we want to do, we want to join a particular row. So for that, we are going to write socket.on, and inside this we are going to mention the event, that is join row. And here we will provide an arrow function which will have room and acknowledgement as the parameters. And inside this, we will provide a condition, that is if the room is not provided, then return nothing. And after that, if the room is provided, then with the help of socket.join method, we are going to join that particular room. And then again, we will provide the same thing. If the type of acknowledgement is a function, then it will return us OK along with the notification. And what if we want to leave the room? Then what we will do, instead of join room event, we will just write leave room. And the same things again. And instead of join, we will write a leave method. And finally, if the user wants himself to disconnect. So after disconnection, what will happen? The disconnection may be due to a lot of reasons, because the user can lose the internet, or the group chat might end, or the user intentionally can leave the meeting. So for that, we are going to provide socket.on, and here I will provide a built-in event, that is disconnect. And here, when the user will get disconnected, then this arrow function will get executed, which will take the reason as the parameter. And when the user will disconnect itself from the meeting, in the console, we will get that the user got disconnected. And then the socket ID of the room will be provided, followed by the reason. And here, as we have seen, in order to generate the ID of the particular user, what we are using? We are using the genID method. So we have to declare it as well. Over here, what we will do, after this register socket handlers function, we are going to write a function whose name is genID. So how to generate the ID of the user? With the help of math module. So from the math, I want to take the random method. And then I want it to be converted into the form of a string, which will have 36 characters in it. And I want to slice it as well with 2. Along with that, in order to make each ID unique, I will need the date.now method. So for that, I will write date.now. And after that, I will convert it to string. So this is how I am generating the ID of the user. And then I will save it. Now I will go to my server.js. And before that, one more thing that is left to do is that I have to export these functions. So how to export them? With the help of module.exports is equal to register socket handlers. That's it. Save it. And now moving to the server.js. So inside this, I will call the method that we have exported in the socket.js. And before that, I will need express http socket.io and course in order to create the socket server. So here I will write const express is equal to require express, and then const http is equal to require http, followed by const server is equal to require socket.io, and then we will require the course. Course is used because we are going to create the front end of our file as well. So here in the course, I will write require course. Now I will call that register socket handlers method. In order to import it, I will provide the same variable is equal to require. Inside this, I will mention the path of the file. That is the socket. And after that, I will assign that express to the app variable. And to the server variable, I will assign the http.createServer method is equal to dot create server. Inside this, I will provide the app variable. And then what I will do, I will use the app dot use pause in order to send the request from the front end to the back end. And then I will again use app dot use express.json. Okay. Now how to create the instance of the socket? Here I will write const IO is equal to new server. Inside this, pass the server object, followed by providing the details of the course. And here I will provide the origin of the front end. And since we are running a white plus React app, the front end, so in the port number, we are going to write 5173. Localhost 5173. So this is my front end URL. And after that, I'm going to declare the methods that I will send from the front end to the back end. First one is the get request. And the next one is going to be the post request. Alright. So here I have mentioned the details of the course. And now I will call that register socket handlers method. And then finally, with the help of server.listen method, I will declare the port number over here. Let's say 5000. And then an arrow function, which will print in the console. And here it will take the server is running on HTTP localhost 5000. That's it. And then we will save it. Now moving on to our front end. In our front end, what do we do? In order to integrate our front end with the back end, we need to install the socket.io client. Along with that, we need the use effect. So here in the front end, I will import the use effect hook. From React, and then I will also import socket.io from socket.io client. And then I will declare a function that is app. And inside that, I'm going to declare the use effect hook. And inside that, I will provide an arrow function. Inside the arrow function, I'm going to write the backend URL. So here I will write const socket is equal to IO. Here I will mention HTTP localhost 5000, followed by which query are we do we require to send? We are required to send the query in which we will be defining the user ID manually. Say for example, the user ID is 123. Okay, and after that we are going to use the socket.on method again. See, when I'm writing socket.on, we are getting a lot of methods. connected, disconnected. These are the events that we have written in our backend. See, emit with act and disconnected, disconnect, ID, IO, etc. So these are multiple built-in methods related to that socket. So here we are going to use socket.on method. So here which event we will write connect. So when the user will connect itself, then it will take an arrow function, and in the console it will log connected, and to which socket the user has connected, to the socket dot id. And after that we will provide socket dot on. Here we will declare receive notification. And in the notification, we are going to mention again an arrow function which will take message as the parameter. Inside that, we will declare that message inside the console. And here it will say that the notification has been provided. And that will take the message parameter, followed by socket dot emit method. And this one will be executed when the send notification event will be performed. And with after the send notification event, we will also need to declare the text that the user wants to send. Which text does the user want to send? He wants to send hello user or hello Sean. This is the text. After that, it will take an acknowledgement as the parameter to this arrow function. After that, it will log in the console. And here it will provide the acknowledgement. Whichever thing is present inside the act variable. And finally, after receiving the sending and receiving the notification, the user will get disconnected. Here return an arrow function socket dot disconnect. And inside this user effect, we'll pass an empty array in order to make sure that it runs at least for once. And finally, in the HTML page, we'll provide a header which will say check the console for notifications. That's it. And finally, we will export our app function with the help of export default app. And then we will save it. Now what we will do, we will run our backend and front end together, and we'll see if it's running fine and causing any error. Split the terminal. Here, right? Navigate to the backend and note server.js. Okay, there has been an error. Socket.js. Okay, it should be connect, not connection. Where is it? Yeah. Cannot read properties of undefined. That's reading on. Why is it? Let's say it's running fine. Yeah, there has to be some issues, but it should work well. IO has been here we have to pass the IO. In my laptop, it's causing the issue, but once check it in your laptop because in your laptop the code should work well. I need to clear something inside my laptop. After that, it should work. Okay, all right. If there are no any issues, then you people can leave the meeting. And this is it for today's class. And after running both the server, you will get the messages displayed on your server. Bye.